See, it's live now. So I was going to give meetings are printed in Sri Guru and His Grace. So this is in March of 1978, just after Prabhupada departed. And
so we're going to hear the whole thing, though, right?
I don't know.
Because I remember listening to it.
Do you want to hear it? My question is,
yes, I do.
Do you want to continue to go like this for some time? Or do you want to return back to the Chaitanya Charitamrita here? And these two meetings, they are, I'm not sure if there's something after that, but this is the kind of like the basis, the foundation, because you have to see, and actually this was what was sent out when I was in Africa in 1978. After Prabhupada departed, then I was in Bombay, and then I flew to Nairobi for the first time. Brahmananda, he wanted me to go there. So, but it was at this time, after this meeting, that they transcribed that. I don't know if they transcribed both meetings. I mean, there were practically all of the devotees. They knew practically nothing about Prabhupada's deep and intimate relationship with Srila Sridhar Maharaj. But those who had been with Prabhupada in India, yeah, they actually stayed. I'm not sure if they stayed in Devananda Gaudiya Math or Srila Sridhar Maharaj's Math, but
Chutananda stayed at both.
That's different. That's him alone without Prabhupada. He was stayed there for 1 year. Yeah, and I heard from him all about his experiences there. Yeah, so Srila Sridhar Maharaj became known, but not that much known. But I can remember in the early 70s hearing his name, and even as far back as 72, you know. In fact, the first Back to Godhead magazine that I saw when I entered the temple on August 3rd, 1970 in Detroit, and I was like looking at the stacks of Back to Godhead magazines, this and that, and the one that I opened up happened to have the article that was printed from Achyutananda's notes. He didn't have a tape recorder, but he had notes. Later on, that article was also reprinted in our Raising the Harmonist magazine, called Descent of the Holy Name. Yeah, and it's very interesting that I saw that with my eyes, the name, you know, Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj in their magazine. So during those early 70s, naturally, devotees were wondering, is there another personality similar to Srila Prabhupada on the planet? You know, is there another pure devotee? So Srila Sridhar Maharaj, I remember hearing a statement from Prabhupada that he considered Srila Sridhar Maharaj to be a pure devotee. So there was some, you know, information was floating here and there, but not very, how do you say, very exacting. Just little bits and pieces, you know. So, you know, in 1975, I told this, I think you were there, when I was being on the Zoom call that day. But I mentioned that in 75, when we completed the Chaitanya Charitamrita marathon in LA. So on that bulletin board outside of the temple room, the BBT newsletter was put up. And Srila Prabhupada told there to Rameswar, because he was asking, is there anyone else who can translate Srimad Bhagavatam? If you leave early, can you tell us? Can we have some? And then he told at that time that only two people, myself and my godbrother Bhakti Rakshak Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. Now that, reading that there is emblazoned in my mind, because immediately that same personality, that same personality. So that's 1975, 2 years, maybe even 2.5 years before Prabhupada left. And then in 77, when Srila Prabhupada was asked in his final days, then he again confirmed the name Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. But, none of us had ever heard that conversation that we just read last night. None of us really knew the intimacy, the histories, all of these things, And even we didn't know anything about Srila Narayan Maharaj, Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj. I was there in Vrindavan, with Prabhupada in the final days. And the name Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj we're hearing it, But even after that Samadhi ceremony of Srila Prabhupada and so forth, we still didn't have any information about him. Or what was his relationship with Prabhupada? What was the history? Nothing. We didn't have any of that. So, at any rate, because of this meeting that we're now going to hear, first meetings with the GBC, from that point on, devotees all throughout the world became aware that there's this personality whom Srila Prabhupada said we should approach. So therefore, from the beginning of 78 in March, all the way up till 1982, so that's like 4 years. It was during that time. And you also were in LA, and the tapes were being circulated here and there was controversies arising, and the GBCs were trying to consolidate their power and their authority in their new, GBC guru zones, So there's so many conversations, and I was privy to a lot of them, because in 1980, you'll remember that Sudhir, dear Krishna Swami, was sent by Ramaswar to go to India and to interview Srila Sridhar Maharaj and to ask various questions and then to return back. And that would be Ramaswar's ammunition, because Ramaswar kind of was starting to think like, this is ridiculous, that we have all these big Vyasasans, as big as Prabhupada, we're sitting there. Right? So he instructed that his Vyasasan should be taken out of the temple. You were there, or you were down in Laguna at the time, but you were aware of that.
Yes, I was aware.
Right. So it was exactly during that time that he sent dear Krishna, who was like the temple president. And I was in London at the 76.
His name is Dear Krishna.
Yeah, dear Krishna. I also knew him from the Brooklyn Temple, because he was at the Brooklyn Temple. I didn't know him very well at all. So, what was the last point that I was making? I'm jumping in my head from one point to another. All right, so he took his Vyasa, and when he came, I hosted him at the. But I stayed up and listened to a few of them. Like, they were all 1.5-hour length tapes, 90-minute cassette tapes. So I heard, and so this is the thing, that from this time of March 1978, all the way up to coming into 19. Is this fan that's doing that? Can you turn this off? Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. So the GBC members had started coming to Srila Sridhar. Is that he was completely accepted, and then all these doubts started to come, and so much politics.
So what you're going to read is the first.
This is the first meeting of the GBC in March of 1978. First two meetings with Srila Sridhar Maharaj. Okay, so these are the known present GBC members at this meeting. Tamal Krishna Maharaj, Jai Pataka Maharaj, Jai Tirtha Maharaj, Harikesh Maharaj, Sat Swarup Maharaj, Jai Dvaita Maharaj, and others. So Jai Pataka opens up. He says, after the departure of the Master, we came to offer our respects to you, as well as to hear your very esteemed Upadesh on certain matters, if you would be kind enough. Then Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, and you can remember this from Sri Guru and his grace, he says, the Gurudev is mentioned in the Shastra with an example. I don't exactly remember the Sanskrit verse, but such example is there. The water along with the lotus, for without water, the sun. Krishna will burn. The sun, meaning Krishna, will burn. Without the help of the Guru, the disciple is nowhere. Das Goswami Prabhu, it means Raghunath Das Goswami, the Prayojanacharya of the whole Gaudiya, he has also remarked that Yat Bunjayate Kunjam Hridayate. They're not getting the Sanskrit right, but this is the verse from Vilap Kushal Manjali. He says that a python is coming. After the demise, the departure of Sri Gurudev, Rupa Sanatan, that Govardhan hill, which is the representation of Sri Krishna himself, it seems to me just like a big python is coming to devour me. And Radha Kunda, the holiest place of the divinity of the Gaudiya Sampradaya, it is like a tiger's mouth. It is coming to devour me by the separation of Gurudev. So he's quoting Raghunath Das Goswami's verse right from the very beginning to bring the topic into Guru Tattva, but from the highest position. Then he continues to explain this. He says, so much excitement is there given to me about the absence of my Gurudev, my dearest and my highest guardian, spiritual guardian, who has the most intense affection for me, to nurture me for spiritual purpose. He is not here. He is not here. How can I tolerate that my everything is gone? All vanishes with his departure. Such sort of deep sense of separation will come, and then there's an interruption, and he says, where is Bhavananda? Is he here? Jaipataka, he couldn't come today. Sridhar Maharaj. He told in his lecture, he sometimes refers to this, then earlier on, Srila Sridhar Maharaj was present when Bhavananda was told to stand and speak something, probably when Prabhupada was there as well. And he would refer to this because this is like, he's hearing the philosophy coming out of the mouth of Westerners for the first time. These were like some of the first early devotees that came to India. And Sridhar Maharaj is saying, this Bhavananda, he told in his lecture, union in separation is the highest realization. I was very happy to hear from his lips that union in separation, vipralamba, vipralamba, that is the highest kind. That will come as vipralamba, vihar, Krishna vihara. It's viraha, but they didn't catch it. Krishna viraha, Krishna milan, Krishna viraha. And without milan, there cannot be any other reaction to that without that separation. Viraha, vipralamba. So vipralamba is the most spacious thing pertaining to Krishna consciousness. And if we can have the grace of that plane, forgetfulness, in forgetfulness also, if there is Krishna connection, then we are safe. We are set. In the forgetfulness also, we shall have the Krishna consciousness also in the background, and nothing else, no Maya. The safest position, fearless position, that is vipralamba. You know vipralamba? Separation. You know separation? How the gopis are feeling separation from Krishna. Oh, where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? What do you call?
This picture.
Yes. In Spanish, what do you say for separation?
Separation.
Oh, same word.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So, in Vipralambha, Gurudev, in separation to Gurudev, if we can stand, then Vidyavatam Bhagavate Parikshad. I have passed the highest stage, the highest test, the examination. In separation also, I can retain the memory of Sri Gurudev, Sri Krishna. So, it's a little choppy, but basically what Srila Sridhar Maharaj is saying is that right from the very beginning, he's mentioning the separation mood, that if Guru is not there, then what? Then the sun, the lotus, and the pond. Then Krishna can burn, the sun can burn the lotus. But if Guru is there as the water, and the lotus thrives. So what he's doing is he's saying that through the feeling of separation from Guru, that powerful feeling, it is a very great test that Krishna is giving to the disciple. Very great test. That I will continue to remember my Guru in the mood of separation. And then Guru will be with us. It will be milan, it will be meeting in separation. You understand how he's coming to this point? And Bhavananda said this, but probably had very little understanding of it, but Srila Sridhar Maharaj appreciated. Oh, the Western devotees, they're learning about meeting and separation. Huh? So he's trying to encourage to the disciples whose guru, our Srila Prabhupada, has only recently left this world within the last, about 4 months. 4 months. So I have passed the highest stage, the test, the examination. In separation also, I can retain the memory of Sri Gurudev, Sri Krishna. Introduction, then Jayapataka Maharaj, he says, Maharaj, when our Srila Prabhupada left, then he has given instruction that for initiating and for carrying on the Sampradaya, there would be 11. Lie from the very beginning. Direct lie. He's telling that Srila Nectar They came to get some stamp of approval that we are the gurus. We are the 11. Just see, from the very first time that they're meeting, that's their motive.
Which I'm sure Srila Maharaj. So what did he? How did
Okay,
he
let's.
respond?
So his talk is still talking. Then he says, in the beginning, he appointed 11 devotees, his disciples, to be initiating spiritual masters or to accept disciples, and in the future that number would also be able to be increased. Just a lie, complete lie. Then to the statement of the so-called Ritvik Guru thing. We wanted to take your advice on some points as to various details of how these initiating spiritual masters should deal with certain questions. If we could ask questions to you then, Sridhar Maharaj, yes, you may ask. Then a devotee says, no name, not say, I am appointing these 11 that will be the only initiating gurus after I leave.
Actually, he did say one thing.
What?
He said, in fact, he used the word, as I remember, Prabhupada said, one thing, you must be qualified.
Well, yes. I mean, look, if anybody reads the final order, that paper of that conversation, okay, certainly Srila Prabhupada is authorized, which was not really coming from Prabhupada. It was like they were saying, okay, well, the Hamsadutta is in this part of the world, and this was their question to Srila Prabhupada was, Prabhupada, there are many devotees who, and you're in this condition now, so, what should we do? Can we have a system that, because, naturally Srila Prabhupada's not going to be writing letters as he was during the years, corresponding with the temple presidents and so forth. And what they wanted to understand from Srila Prabhupada if they could appoint 11 different GBC members. They had this zonal guru system, and they represented to the whole world of devotees that they'd been appointed by Prabhupada. That whole thing collapsed in 1985, as you know. But, this is what was leading up to, because Srila Sridhar Maharaj was not approving. And they wanted, because they wanted to have the power, the authority. And especially when some devotees wanted to go to him to take initiation, that freaked them out like anything. They actually, and then when there were 3 devotees that took sannyas from Srila Sridhar Maharaj, not quite sure. Let's continue here. So this is what this devotee is saying to Srila Sridhar Maharaj. That he said that when he was very ill, he had appointed 11 Ritviks, and he said that after he disappears, that these Ritviks would continue as initiating spiritual masters. He did say that, Maharaj, but this Harinam, so they will be one of his disciples. So they wondered, what is their relationship in this type of situation with each of the spiritual masters? So those who are initiated by our Srila Prabhupada with Harinam, then when they approach one of these 11 and they take second initiation, then they would like to know who is the guru, spiritual master amongst these 11? Then Sridhar Maharaj says, wisdom. And Jayapataka says, he can take who he likes. He may take whichever one he wants. It's a question. This is a question. Sridhar Maharaj, according to his Shraddha, devotee, his faith, Sridhar Maharaj, according to his Shraddha, a newcomer should be given some time. Who will come to be initiated, he should be given some time, for a fair period of time, to hear from different persons, and then the first stage is to hear. Second stage, that is called Varan. That is acceptance by the Guru and the Shishya. both the preceptor and the disciple. That is the second stage, Varandasha. Then the sadhana, or the attempt for realization, will begin. And first stage, to hear open field, fair field, to hear. Then the connection should come between guru and shishya, preceptor and disciple, both sides. Then that should be better. Shravandasha, then Varandasha, then Sadhandasha, Apandasha, Prapandasha, 5 stages in sadhan in spiritual life. Then the devotee says, at which stage does Diksha come? Harinam reaches to the lowest and the highest. And Diksha in the middle part, mid-circle, that may help to Harinam. Harinam, not mantra. Trayateti mantra. This mental, which will relieve us from mental speculation, that is mantra. This manodharma, that is the worldly mind. We should get relief from the worldly mindedness by mantra. But Harinam is a natural thing. It reaches to the lowest, it goes to the highest. Harinam. Then Jayapataka. So those who have received Harinam from Bhaktivedanta Swami, then they are his disciples, Sridhar Maharaj. They will take help, his disciples, maybe, and they will take help from the Diksha Guru because they are in the sadhana, on the way to the end. So they'll take the help of this mantra